Hello, I'm Eric Myers with Myers Mushrooms, and this is the Bubbas Mushroom Sterilizer for mushroom bags. It's using atmospheric steam to sterilize your substrate, your supplemental substrate, in grow bags, so like unicorn type grow bags. This is the 85-gallon sterilizer. It fits about 45 10-pound bags, and I'm going to go over the assembly of it. It's pretty easy. There's only 4 fittings basically that you're going to be hooking up to. You're going to have the water supply line here, and this is going to go to your hose bib, okay? This is going to hook up to your hose bib, and then it has a regulator that's going to drop the pressure down to 10 psi. From there, it's going to supply it to the float valve. And what the float valve does is it maintains the water level at 4 or 5 inches, so that way the element doesn't run dry as you're boiling off the water. You're going to want to put a little bit of Teflon tape on there so it seals up nice and tight, and you're good to go. Hook that up to a hose. You also have a drain valve, and this could either go to a garden hose or any kind of hose, or just drain straight out of this onto the ground. This is important because you want to drain off any calcium buildup. If you're boiling off water, it's going to leave the minerals behind. So especially if you're not running a PID controller, a control box, you're going to have a lot of calcification over time. So you want to drain off that water, and it'll help with lengthening the life of the drum and the element as well. So that's the drain valve. And the element, so this is the element that Bubbas sells. It's dual voltage, so it could be either 240 or 120. At 240 it is 6,000 watts, and at 120 it is about 1900 watts. So you're going to want to have a 20 amp circuit for 120, or for 240 it's a 30 amp circuit. So with this, and if you're going to buy your own, all you need is either an element that already has a 2-inch triclover fitting, which is pretty common nowadays with the brewing industry using this a lot, or you need a thread-in heating element, and then an enclosure that has the triclover fitting. And I'll put in the link below, not only the link to get this, but also the link for my kit page, where it has all the accessories with other options for elements. So this one goes in, and this is a very heavy-duty, made in the United States element. It's probably never going to fail in years of operation, so that's why it's a little bit more pricey than the ones you can buy on Amazon, say, but made in the USA, you got to pay a premium price. This whole drum is made in the USA. It's TIG welded. So with the triclover, you're just going to make sure you have the O-ring on there. The O-ring seats in the little groove, and then you push the element in, and then you swing the clamp around, and it holds the grooves. In this groove, it holds the two pieces of each side. So then you swing it around, and you take this the wing nut, and you just crank it down. You don't have to make it very tight. It's just a kind of nice and snug. So from there, this has the optional PID control box, and what that does is it's a time temperature controller. So you set how long you want it to run at what temperature. Once it gets up to that temperature, it'll regulate the heater, so it won't be running all the time and blowing steam out. It'll just be flicking on and off every couple of seconds to maintain your target temperature. And it saves in electricity, and it saves you from turning your lab into a steam room, essentially, a sauna. So from there you have, you hang it up, the element's already attached. This one has the optional 120 volt adapter, or you would just get a power cord that is 240, if you're going to do 240 or 30 amp, and just plug that right in down there. For the sensor, it has a little probe, and this has the optional bung that comes when you order it. It has the optional bung and the hangers that will screw into that hole, and then you clip it on. Now if you don't have that bung already welded on there, another option is you could just slip it down in here, and it'll read the external temp, or the temp behind the insulation. It won't be as accurate as being inside. You might have to have the set point a few degrees lower for the actual set point inside to be higher, if that makes any sense. So if it's, say, you want your set point to be 200, you might have to set it to be 202 or 203, and it'll actually be, I'm sorry, other way around. You'd have to set it a little bit lower. So if you want 200, you might have to set it to 195, but inside the drum will be 200, because you're going to get a little bit of cooling through the insulation. Not a whole lot. So yeah, and then that clips on right here. And the reason why the probe is on the drum and not on the lid is because if it's on the lid, then you're moving this wire all the time, and it might break it. So by putting it here, it's stationary and it never moves, a much lower chance of it breaking. From here, you would just go ahead and hook up to your water, turn it on, let it fill up, and plug it in, and you're ready to go. This is pretty much ready to run right now. And then you would just bag out your substrate and load it up, pack them in there as tight as you can. You do not need to make any spacers, you don't need to leave airspace at all. The steam will push its way through, and you're rocking and rolling, doing this does about 400 pounds of substrate in each load. The cycle time is going to depend on your elevation, so your boiling point will vary by your elevation. So if you're at a very high elevation, you might need to run it for a full 24 hours, where if you're at sea level, you might get away, especially with the thick 6,000 watt element at 240 volts, you might be able to get away with, say, a 8-hour runtime or a 6-hour runtime. It also depends on how full the drum is and how hot your bags are when you start off. So if you have ice cold substrate going in, because it's cold out and you store your substrate outside, it's going to take a little bit longer to warm up, opposed to if you store your substrate inside where it's 70 degrees and you're using water that's 130 degrees hydrated in, those bags are going in at 110 degrees, so it'll come up to that core temperature of 190, 200 Fahrenheit a lot quicker and get sterilized quicker. So this uses no pressure. There's four holes in the lid, and then also there's no locking ring and there's no O-ring. And we do that for safety reasons, because it's very unsafe. Even at 2 or 3 PSI, some people do it. There's a chance of the lid breaking loose and killing or injuring people or damaging property. So for liability reasons, we just use the atmospheric steam. It's honestly all you need. You don't need pressure for sawdust bags. You can run spawn in this, but you'd want to use a 3T or a T filter, so a 3T or the XLAT, or I think that's what it is, XLT, whatever, the extra large one from Unicorn with the T filter patch, and that's a 0.3 micron. And then you're also going to want to pre-seal the bags. So you're going to hydrate your spawn, bag it out, deflate the air, and pre-seal them with an impulse sealer. And that makes it to when they're cooling down, it's only pulling air through the filter patch. A lot of people ask me, well, if you're pre-sealing it, aren't they going to explode? That's only when you're doing an autoclave. If you're autoclaving it, the issue is you have the pressure building up, and then you relieve the pressure when you're cooling it down, and the bags will inflate or pop. So that's not an issue because you're not under pressure with this. So hopefully that answered all your questions. If you're interested in getting one of these, bubbasbarrels.com. If you have any questions, you can direct them to me at myersmushrooms@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on Facebook, Eric Myers. So hopefully this video helped you out if you bought one of these, or if you're looking at buying one of these, and keep on mushrooming.